Howdy partners, and welcome back to the Video Cowboy. Today we honor the very first TV cowboy, Hopalong Cassidy, played by William Boyd.
There's the trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes. Hopalong Cassidy, here he...
Now, William Boyd has a very interesting story as how he got to be Hopalong Cassidy. He was a very, very famous silent film star, a favorite of the studios, a favorite of Cecil B. DeMille. The studio loved him and audiences loved him. As a matter of fact, in the mid-1920s, William Boyd was earning $100,000 a year from the studios. But then a bad thing happened. Long about 1930, another actor named William Boyd was caught in a scandal, and a newspaper printed it and they ran the wrong picture. Yep, they ran a picture of our Hoppy. Now, they apologized the next day, printed a retraction, but as William Boyd said, the damage was already done. And for about 5 years, he could not get a job to save his life. He even tried billing himself as Bill Boyd to try to get a little bit of work. Until 1935, when he finally landed the role of Hopalong Cassidy. And boy, did that take off. I tell you, Hopalong Cassidy movies went one right after another, and they were all well accepted. They all made money, and everybody loved William Boyd as Hopalong Cassidy. And it was just coming into a period where short reel movie westerns were becoming very, very popular. Remember, there was no TV in those days. So he made movie after movie after movie as Hopalong Cassidy for Radio Pictures. By the way, you might be wondering how we got to the name Hopalong. In the original short stories written for pulp magazines along about the turn of the century, Hopalong Cassidy had a wooden leg, so they said he could just hop along. Well, in the very first Hopalong Cassidy movie, they had William Boyd get shot in the leg. When he got shot in the leg, they said, "How you gonna get by?" And he said, "Well, I'll just hop along." Well, Hopalong Cassidy continued to make his movies up until the late 40s, and those short, one-reel westerns were falling out of favor with the studio. But William Boyd was smart enough. He saw television on the horizon. And he went to the studio, mortgaged everything he had, managed to raise $350,000, and he bought all the Hopalong Cassidy movies and the rights to his likeness as Hopalong Cassidy and the merchandising. And then he sold the Hopalong Cassidy television series to NBC in 1948. He recut all those movies into what we now call half-hour juvenile westerns. And that became the very first western series on televisions. Now, not all those movies cut into exactly 30-minute TV shows, so sometimes he would record little messages for his friends, as he called them. Well, here, let me show you one so you'll see what I'm talking about.
Hi, my little partners. I want to ask you a very serious question. Are you afraid of policemen? You're not, huh? Well, that's good. You shouldn't be. Always remember that those men have had a lot of training, have put in a lot of years to learn how to help protect you. And one more thing, don't ever call a policeman a cop. He doesn't like it and it doesn't sound good. Respect him as he does you. Call him a police officer and see how much nicer he'll be. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, don't forget to go to Sunday school.
It is hard to describe just how popular Hopalong Cassidy was around the world. We have some footage to show you, and it's from the BBC, and it's not in England, it's in Australia. This is what happened when Hopalong Cassidy visited Australia.
Hopalong Cassidy, the Pied Piper of Hollywood, reaches Sydney, accompanied on the trip by his wife, Tripalong, otherwise Mrs. William Boyd. But to 4,000 children at the airport, it's Hoppy, fabulous hero of the Wild West, the man with the famous laugh.
Hey, kids!
There was a period of time when Hopalong Cassidy, with children, was the most popular and well-known person in the world. And because of this, the other TV cowboys followed. They called them juvenile westerns, but that's Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and a myriad of others. You know all about them. The other thing that William Boyd had going was the merchandising of Hopalong Cassidy. The Hopalong Cassidy lunchbox. It's a very interesting story. Aladdin Industries. You know, Aladdin still makes the school lunchboxes today. Well, in 1 year, they sold 50,000 school lunchboxes. They put Hopalong Cassidy on the lunchbox, and they sold 600,000 lunchboxes. There were dishes and flatware. Well, let me show you this picture taken on Christmas Day in 1953. This little buckaroo is wearing Hopalong Cassidy's chaps, Hopalong Cassidy vest, Hopalong Cassidy hat, and carrying a Hopalong Cassidy cap gun in his hand. And I know this, I remember it well, because that little buckaroo is me. So, hats off to William Boyd as Hopalong Cassidy. Until next time, hasta la vista, vaqueros. I'll be seeing you, Wranglers.